Alright, welcome back to Game Dev Tycoon. Today we're going to be continuing on with the series. Last episode we looked at creating our own gaming development studio and we made 3 games, I believe. This episode we will be continuing and trying to get out of the garage that we have been given access to. So without further ado, here we go. So as you can see so far, I will just do a quick recap. So the year was 1980 and we started off by making a farming simulator game called Farming USA 1980. It sold 23,000 units. It cost 39,000 to make. The income was 161.9 thousand. And we made 122.9 profit, or 22.9 thousand profit. It was released in the 5th month of the first year, and it had an average score of 8.75. Made 193 fans, and it reached the top rank of 16. I'm not going to go through all of them. As you can see, the second game was a flop. It was called A Hacker's Adventure, 4.75. I'll just let you have a look at those statistics here. Other than that, we had the next game was Crime Lords, which was an average game, 6.25. So yes, so as you can see, we are in year 2, month 10, so we're nearly at year 3. The Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, has already been released, and we will go from here. Okay, so we're going to develop a new game. We're gonna actually, we're gonna have to develop a new game. We're gonna actually, what can we do? I'm gonna go for a crime cop game. We're gonna put it on the G64, and we're gonna call it Action Cops. It's gonna cost us 30,000 to make. We're gonna go 2D graphics. Have I got my new engine? I think I have. Okay, so we're gonna have the engine high, gameplay medium, story and quest 0 to non-existent. As you can see, the technology is going to be pretty good. The designs should be good because I have full design. Dialogue, we'll keep it like that. Action Cops, I'm expecting at least middle tier scores of at least 5 to 6. We'll keep all that. Usually what you want to do is, the aim here is you want to try and get out of the living in the, or designing games in the garage basement. You want to try and get your own sort of apartment or a studio thing, and then you can hire staff and stuff, so that's really good. So we're going to actually finish the game here. We got 14 technology points and 11 design points. Recent studies suggest that the increasing variety of gaming devices also creates a market for more specialized games. Some platforms become more popular with young. So as I was saying in the previous video, that's when you can start to target games. It's going to give us the option. New research is available to target audiences. Now, we're going to use, hopefully, that next game. I'm going to research that so we can target a vocabulary game for kids. So we actually have a new record in technology. Mono sound has just been released. Let's see. Yes, but I don't have enough money to create a custom game engine. Okay, so 7 from Star Games. 7 crime and action. 5, geez, they didn't like it. 6, so yeah, an average game. So I actually have a custom. Oh, does it not cost anything? Okay. Yeah, so we will create a new custom game engine, but before we do that, we're going to research target audiences, and what we will do here When that researches, we will then create our own custom game engine. Usually what you want to do is you kind of want to manage your creating of custom game engines. You want to create, you kind of want to manage how you create them, because what will end up happening is you really should have different types of engines, because what it does is it ends up costing less money. For example, if you just have one game engine per console era, what's going to happen is you're going to have to wait until you unlock everything you want, and then the game actually adds that onto the price of how much it costs. So I know on one of my old saves, it cost at least, so I'm actually going to research pirate here. Pirate ninja. Yeah, pirate. I know on one of my other saves, I have my highest game engine is 4 million. It costs 4 million to make, so that is a lot of money to make a game engine. So you kind of don't want to do that all the time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create our own custom game engine. We'll have this linear story and a save game. We're just going to call it version V1 game engine. So it's called V1 game engine. As you can see here, my character, he has 50 odd remaining points. What happens here is he researches the game engine, and what happens then is occasionally you'll get a dark blue, for example, there, and it'll go into your research points. So creating a custom game engine also helps you develop more research points. So you could just create a custom game engine for the sake of it later down the track if you wanted more research points. So because we researched that our first custom game engine didn't cost anything, so what we're going to do is we're going to do that vocabulary game. We're going to base this on young. We're going to put this on the PC. We're going to use this engine, and we're going to have it. Vocabulary would be simulation, wouldn't it? I wouldn't assume it would be. We're going to call it ABCs for kids. ABCs for kids. We're just going to have. We'll have two. Well, because it's a vocabulary game, we don't really need 2D graphics, do we? I'll tell you what, I'll leave it as 2D. I don't want to waste too much on the graphics, because I don't think it will be that important. We don't even need a story. I'll put a save game in there, because you might be playing it, say there might be challenges or something and you want to save it. So we can see here we've got a couple of bugs in it fairly early. Yeah, the AI should be fairly high, I would assume, because I think you would want to challenge the kids as higher up in terms of what you're providing them with the alphabet. We're going to actually have sound high here, and we're going to have graphics medium. The only reason to say that is because especially when you're learning alphabet letters or letters like that, sound is very important. Graphics obviously for a game would be, but you got to remember this is on PC. I don't really think graphics are that important at this era. So I'm actually surprised with the amount of design points we have here. This will probably flop. As you can see, we're already on 13.8k, so we hope that this actually sells well, otherwise we are looking at a very awkward position in terms of money. The first reviews for our newly released game, ABCs for Kids, has just come in. Oh, very good, there's some 8-star games. Played it for days, 8, so they're clearly very enjoyable. Okay, so I'm fairly surprised with the results I got for this. That is very good though, so we should sell a fair amount of copies for this. 31 on the rankings. That is incredible for a vocabulary game for kids. I should have really put this on the NES, even though I said I probably won't develop anything for it, just because the NES is more for, and the home consoles were more for kids. So we have 178,000, so I'm fairly happy about that. You can research casual games, but I honestly don't see the point. We're actually going to go for contract work here, and we're going to actually go for this one. Let's hope my character can do something. So recent market data shows that the Commodore 64 seems to be slowly losing market shares against the other PC manufacturers. So in year 3, month 11, week 2, I would recommend, I'm probably not going to develop another game for the Commodore 64, simply because of this. You've got to remember, in the late 80s, I believe, the Commodore 64 is completely gone. It's gone. Then they go on to, it's just PC. That's the only real market for computer-based gaming. And then yeah, Jason, who's in charge of your contract work, he'll just say if you've completed a job, he's fairly happy with it, which is good. We got 182.7k. So the way you move out of this out of the garage area is you need to have a game that just completely takes off. I believe you need at least $1 million in terms of cash. So the game link is this is actually the Game Boy. This is going to be very important to when we're going to actually develop. We're going to actually wait until next month and develop a game specifically for that. So we're going to actually generate a game report on ABCs for Kids. Hopefully we get some valuable information regarding that game. Let's read what the report says. Our post-release of ABC for Kids is, it's great simulation and very important. So yeah, sort of what I thought. I thought the AI would be fairly important for a simulation game. I was sort of hit and miss though, because vocabulary is sort of hard to, to determine what the topic is, because you don't really know what the topic, because you only really had simulation, action, adventure. The only real one I could honestly have if it was an adventure, because you wouldn't have an action vocabulary game, you wouldn't have a strategy one. Let's see. We're gonna actually research something. Okay, so the Game Boy, the Gamerling has been announced. Before we do that, we're going to research a racing game. Racing games are going to be fairly important during the home console eras. So we're going to actually develop a new game. We're going to go young. We're going to have a racing game. We're going to have it as an action game, platform, gameling. So it costs us $50,000 to acquire a license. I would recommend acquiring the license as soon as possible. As long as you have the money, like you don't want to have $50,000 and then pay $50,000 and then have nothing to develop a game with. Yes, we'll develop on that. Pick game engine. We'll just use the same one, and we'll call it. What would we call it? We'll call it Racing Maniac. Maniacs? I think it's like that. Maniacs. So it's a good combo. Not a great combo. Would it be simulation? Yeah, okay, simulation. Great combo. We go the 2D version 2. Yeah, we don't really need a story. have a save game, just because, especially these kids, you know, they don't want to be having no save game and the game crashes and they lose all their progress. I remember when I was a kid, I always didn't like it when the games didn't have saves, because you just wasted your time doing that. We're just going to keep this fairly similar. We don't need any dialogue really, because there's no story. We're actually going to put graphics high as well. So we're going to try and get this game to be fairly successful on with a growing, there's also growing audiences for. Okay, so here is where you can then market, so it'll unlock marketing. Marketing is fairly important, especially if you're if you don't have a lot of fans, because what it will do is it'll end up building hype for your games, which is fairly important. So we would have we broke 2 records there, Racing Maniacs. My guy's at nearly level 3, halfway through level 2. Let's see, hopefully a good game here. I saw a 10, 9, this could be the game that sets us off. I saw a 10, we're going to get that, a masterpiece. Another 10 out, okay, so I think this is going to take off. We're going to actually move out here. We're going to move out of this. This will sell heaps probably. So we got 1 9 and 3 10s. This should be one of the best selling games in the era. So we already sold 100,000. 100,000 in the first week. That's amazing. Okay, so here's where, so you see how we got 1 million fairly quickly. This is where you go move, costs 150,000. So welcome to your new office. Now that you have a bigger office, you can also hire staff and forge a world-class development team to make even better games. So we will go that. Now before you can hire staff, what you have to do is you click on your character here and you actually have to train him. So this is a new feature once you move out of your basement garage, is you can train. You go train staff management. And what happens here is basically unlocks the ability for you to hire staff. Now I'm not entirely sure how scripted it is before you get out, because I know once you're here, it's basically anything can happen once you're in this building. Excuse me. But the 3 games I've played is I've had the same thing. I made a Game Boy game and it basically platinumed. It hit 100. I got 1 million. So it just seems like if you're stuck on ideas, I guess, wait till the Game Boy comes out and then develop a game for that, and it's somewhat scripted. I don't know, maybe it's not, but I know the rest of the game's not scripted at all in terms of you know, you winning the game or whatnot, because you can completely bankrupt. It's fairly easy to bankrupt yourself in this game. So we just got word that Racing Maniacs, which was recently released by Mafuba Incorporation, has racked up over 500,000 in sales. If the game were a music record, it would have recorded gold status. Well, we wonder how many. I'd say it'd nearly get to 1 million. It's at what, 600,000 nearly. Jeez, it's training complete. We're gonna actually research. Sorry, we're gonna actually game report that game because that was fairly popular, really popular, that game. We might actually hire some staff and then we'll probably call it quits. Today the game platform has been released. Okay, so let's have a look at what the post data is. AI seems to be very important. So we're going to actually hire someone first. Now what I'd like to do is start off with just the lowest amount of staff you can get in terms of what you pay them, because what will end up happening is they'll improve. So they actually improve better if you start off with lower. Otherwise you're going to be paying 50,000 for someone, and what will happen is you'll end up blowing your budget on staff. So these are both the same salary. He's got 253 in speed, he's got 212 in research. we're going to go with this dude, he seems better. You get medium games. So now what you do here is you click on train. He clicks staff welcome training for him, and he's going to begin his work, I guess, at your company. Now before we call it quits, we're going to research one more topic. Let's have a look. Maybe not. We're going to research marketing is what we're going to do. And yeah, that's basically it for this. Okay, so before we cut it up, boss, I've discovered that some really dedicated fans have created a game using a lot of... So yeah, for example, before we end this episode, things like this is really cool about this game, is there'll be instances where people will copyright your game or whatnot, and see things like this, I'm just going to say let them be, because we're not making any money for that game anymore, so it doesn't really matter. If this happened when we were still selling the game, then I would maybe say stop them. But it's honestly a game from what the PC last year. It was our second last game we made. I'm just gonna go let them be. So that's basically it for today's episode. I'll usually do these probably once or twice a week. If you haven't seen the first episode, do check it out if you want. It basically is an introduction to the series, and we will continue on the next time. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed.